BlapChat.
BlapChat. We here.
BlapChat, nice and quick, nice and fast.
1, 2, 3.
Nice and fast.
BlapChat.
Yeah, yeah, real quick. With the quickness.
Everything is blap.
Everything is blap.
Everything is blap.
What up?
Everything
what up?
is blap.
Yes, this is BlapChat, all music production podcast. I am a person that goes by the name of Jeff Staple.
Yes, I knew it.
Chad Hugo.
It was you the whole time.
Manny Pacquiao. Apple Diab from Black Eyed Peas.
Manny Pacquiao was funny.
What other
That
famous
was a good
Filipinos
one.
are there?
Who was the one that you joked on the panel this weekend?
I think I said Jeff Staple.
No,
Or
you
Chad
said
Hugo.
somebody else.
Oh, June Tao from Rush Hour.
Town.
Yeah, the blonde hair. I'm naturally blonde. Fuck you guys. Welcome to BlapChat. I am Illmind. I'm here with my co-hosts. They're awesome.
Yep.
Alice.
What up, Alice the Plug, a.k.a. Mundo Beats.
Mundo!
What's going on?
Beats. You can't come back.
We haven't done that in a while.
No, we
It's
haven't. We're about to
been
do
a
that
while.
shit a lot more in a minute. Love Perfection. What's up?
Perfection. What's going on?
Hey.
BlapChat.
What's up?
What up? Glam. In
Glam.
The house, in the heezy.
Glam's in the house. Can we turn Glam's
Easy.
mic up, actually?
See?
Is there a way to
I
do
mean,
that
it was
individually?
fine to me just now.
Let me turn you up a little bit.
In
Yeah,
the
turn her up a
That's
little
him.
bit.
I'm fine.
Yeah, turn Glam up a little bit. But we're here, BlapChat. This is episode 50,
The Big 5-0.
and we do
Somebody
have
else
50
is
Cent.
black.
50 Cent is in the building.
He's here. He is
Not
here.
not
He is heading
specifically.
upstairs.
He's not in this building.
Yeah.
He's somewhere.
He's in a building.
Somewhere.
So somewhere. We did say we'd get 50 on the 50th episode, but he's in another building right now.
Yeah.
So, but if he was in this building, then he would be in the building. But
He really wanted to be here, too.
he really wanted to. He really wanted to, but
He had to be at another building.
there's other less
building.
less important things like Power and 50 Central,
50
BET.
Central.
Yeah.
You know, way less important
Yeah,
things.
at another building.
At another building,
Yeah.
so it's all good. Shout to Fifth though, you did. They're still my favorite. But welcome to episode 50. This is great. And like I said, this is all music production that we fuck with here, that we talk about. And shout to all of our supporters. Shout to the subscribers. If you are not subscribed to this podcast, this is your first time listening to us. Definitely support us. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Hit that subscribe button. Hit us up on SoundCloud. If you're on SoundCloud right now, make sure you like, repost, follow soundcloud.com/BlapChat, BlapChat, and leave some comments, man. You know, like if you hear us bring a cool subject up and start talking about something cool, you know, hit us on the comment section and ask a question, comment on your thoughts, because we want to know what you guys' opinion is on certain things. Now, this past week, Atlas and I were able to attend a few cool functions, and we were able to link up with some really cool producers, mostly up-and-comers.
Yep.
And it was very, very awesome. We met some cool peeps. Is that cool? Are you cool with that, Glam? Peeps? I know you don't like abbreviations. Peeps is cool, right?
You don't like a breeze.
You don't like abbreviations?
Some cool peeps.
Peeps is not that bad.
Peeps is not that
what I've
bad.
heard. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, Peeps is normal.
Yeah,
That's
Peeps is normal.
abbreviation.
So we met some cool peeps, and you know, they had a lot to ask. I think there was a lot of questions, a lot of various different production and business related things that they wanted to know about. So Atlas actually got hit up by someone, and they had a cool point that they brought up. So why don't you go ahead and tell the people what that is? Atlas?
Yeah, sure. I was talking with his Instagram is the Tyler August. Give him a little plug right there.
Okay, there you go.
So shout out to
That'll
Tyler
be
August.
$50.
There you go. But he DM'd me. We were chatting this morning. Big fan of the show. But he had a question, and I thought it was an interesting one. I'm curious to see what you guys think. So his question was, and I'm reading it here. He says, I've been noticing songwriters offer on social media to do paid collaboration with producers. I've also had rappers ask for me to pay them to rap on my production. When, if ever, is it appropriate for a producer to pay to collab with a songwriter, artist, or another producer?
So the question of when is it appropriate for the actual producer to pay that person for that service, whether it's a rapper, hey, I want
Songwriter.
16 bars from you. I'm a producer. I want you to rap on my beat. I need to pay you to rap on my beat. If you're a
Correct.
songwriter, hey, I want you to write to my beat or write a song to it, sing to the song. I have to pay you to do it, and when that's appropriate. Interesting. What do you guys think? I have a very
deep
opinion.
strong opinion on that.
Yeah,
this,
I'll
but
let
what do
you
you
guys
guys think?
start
Yeah?
because I have to kind of
Glam,
think
what do you
about
think?
this.
You want to
Dang, I
start
gotta
off?
kick it off.
Kick it off,
Shit,
Glam.
Honestly, 'cause I don't know if it is appropriate. To be
Yeah.
honest, it really depends. But even then, like, I don't think that as a producer, and because here's another thing: am I coming to them or are they coming to me? And then, like, either way, why should there be bread until like something happens? Like, I don't see that. Like, so it should just be a collaborative thing until something pops off on it, if it does. But just like leasing it, I mean, I guess it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of mechanical to me. Like, it's not really a way I would want to do business, because if you gotta pay somebody to like do that, then it's not really. Do you
not
want
real.
Do you want somebody on your track that you have to pay for? And it's not to say that people should do this shit for free, but at the same time, if you and I are vibing or we're in the studio, like, I'm not gonna charge ill,
Right.
or be like, oh yeah, like, that's $100 a bar, like, to
Yeah.
get on your track. Like, it sounds crazy. But I have seen producers who charge up and comers to collab.
Yeah.
Production wise, so I do see that.
For sure.
That makes a little sense because you're up and coming. You know what I'm saying? It's a collaborative thing. This person has already had placement, so it's like a reputable thing where it's like, oh, I might. It's a lottery chance, but it's still that's some work. It's
Right.
art.
Right.
But just like other like
The other way
fees and
around
stuff,
is a little weird.
Yeah, no, I think it's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate.
Right. Atlas, what about
I
you, man?
say never,
Never.
in my opinion, because then it just becomes a transaction. It's like if
Yeah.
I have to pay you to fuck with me, like, then you're not really fucking with me.
Basically.
You know what I'm saying? So I
Right.
want someone who's going to be there organically. I want someone who's like there because they believe in exactly
Right.
what I'm doing. I don't want somebody there because they're going to get a check or they're going to get paid. And once they get paid, they're not going to be pushing it anyway. You know, they're
Right.
just going to take the money
Exactly.
and they're going to run. You know what I'm saying? So listen, I get it. You're an up and comer. You have no music connections. You're in a little town in the middle of nowhere. You can potentially get somebody with a name to spit a 16 or do a song with you. Like, I get why people would do it, but in my opinion, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't do it. It's like, that's just weird to me.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
it doesn't even feel right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, this it's funny because this goes back to a few conversations we've already had about, you know, the issue of charging. And, you know, let's go back a little bit, and I want to bring up the idea of like being a producer and you have all these beats and you know, get an inquiry from a rapper who wants to buy a beat from you, or a songwriter that wants to buy a beat from you. And obviously there's a huge market for that, right? We've already established that. You know, I think the idea of the reverse happening where a producer pays an artist to rap on their shit, I think it really comes down to leverage. You know, it comes down to leverage. If I'm an upcoming producer and I have no credibility, no placements, and me working with a rapper who is established, right? I'll just set examples. Like, let's say I have no placements yet, right? And I want a verse from Wale, right? Wale's the homie, so shout out to Wale. I want a verse from Wale. Wale is obviously a big artist, and I'm a small-time producer. He has a right to charge me for a verse. I'm most likely gonna want that verse and use that verse for maybe my project. Maybe I want to put it up on SoundCloud and get some hits. But again, in doing that, Wale may or may not support the record, and so it's gonna benefit me a little bit, but not as much. It's not gonna benefit me as much as if Wale fucked with my beats and really liked them enough to say, yo, like, do some shit for my project too, and I'll get you a verse and we could do a trade-off. And then when your shit comes out, I'll tweet it, or when your shit comes out, I'll co-sign it, or if you need to shoot a video for it for your album, I'll come to the video shoot and I'll do my verse in the video, you know. So I think once people start charging money the shit gets funny. You know, shit just gets really funny. And if someone's trying to charge you for their verse, you have to really think hard about if that verse is going to benefit you. And if it's not, well, then it's just not going to be a worthwhile investment, right? So the answer, that's the long answer. The short answer is that I don't think it's a good idea unless you know that it'll help you in some kind of other way, because that's just a money grab right there.
I think what you said, Il, is right on with the trade-off.
Yep.
It's like if they really, you know, if they think you're dope and they really want to do something, then they'll trade with you. Like, okay, let's barter something. Okay, I'll do this for you. You know, but then I'm gonna, you know, I'll give you this track, but then I'm gonna need you on this other track I have you in mind for. Okay, cool.
That's
Perfect. Let's do it.
It's
Right.
barter system. It's the barter system.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
bartering. I think
Bartering is great.
It's almost better than money sometimes
Yeah.
because of like the resources that people have. You can,
Yep.
I think that's another way that people don't always think about. They're always like, oh man, I don't have any money, or I don't have a budget. Always like outsource, or like think of other things that you could provide somebody else that you feel like somebody has something you may need, vice versa, and like kind of see what's up with that exchange.
Yeah, yeah. It's very, very, very true. Very
Yeah.
true.
I agree
What do
with
you think,
you.
Amy?
I agree with all of you. I feel like kind of like what you said. It's like a money grab. You know what I mean? It's an opportunity to make a check off of someone, and kind of like what Glam said. It just makes things weird. Like it doesn't feel organic. Doesn't feel like we are collaborating because we want to. You know, naturally, it's because we can essentially get a check. But
Yep.
is that kind of like considered like work for hire in a sense?
In a way.
It is. It is.
You know what I mean?
On
So
how
I
you-
feel like, you know, for certain people that might be okay, because it's like, okay, you're a producer, I'm a songwriter, and I know people who do this occasionally because they're like, music is for, you know, it's their life. You know, they do this for a living. So it's like, you know, it's kind of like work for hire in a sense. Like, okay, you want me to do, let's say, like a reference, so to speak. So like,
Yeah. Yeah.
pay me for that.
I think
kind
reference.
Of,
I
you know
think
what
the
mean?
reference is more of like the work for hire thing. I think
Yeah.
that you're talking about. I think in that sense, it's more
right,
appropriate.
Yeah.
Because you've already accepted that you're not invested
Right.
in anything that's happening.
And I think
you
that's
just want
the thing.
my voice.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is figuring out what the relationship is between you and the person, the business relationship, and what you're trying to do moving forward. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because like people do work for hire.
Yeah.
It's not always necessarily, you know, me rapping on your beat, or it can be like, you know, you play the piano for me. But it's, you know, I know there's people out there that do that because it's like what they do for a living, like, you know. But I think like from a producer standpoint, it's like, you know, you obviously want to do music with someone that you have a connection with. You want to build a vibe. You want to, you know, something that's like long term.
Right.
So, you know, I feel like, yeah, definitely you have to establish that. And I don't think you should do anything that feels like it's just a money grab unless that's what you want to do.
Yeah. Man, it's so funny because as we talk about all this stuff like beat leasing and charging for this, charging for that, the more I'm so opposed and turned off by the money grab thing.
Right.
Like, it's just not it's not a smart long-term business move. Like, you guys need to get that through your head. Like, these little fucking money grabs for the immediate bullshit little money, trust me, I get it. $50 is a lot of money in some circumstances, and that shit adds up. You know, $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 of an ancillary income per month is great. That's paying rent, and I understand that. But that's just the quick and easy bullshit, fucking like lazy. Like, I don't have time to like invest in real people I want to collaborate with version, and you're just gonna fucking lose eventually, man. I guarantee you're gonna lose.
And what's funny is a lot of the times you can tell when it was a money grab. Like you ever
course.
go on like World Star and it'll be like Fetty Wap and someone you never heard of. Right? And then you watch the video, it's a terrible low budget video.
Yeah.
Right?
That is
Fetty's
a
verse is
fact.
okay, pretty dope. Okay, I fuck with Fetty. I like him. But like whoever else is on it, you can tell like all these guys are hustling. They saved up money
Yeah.
and they got him for whatever, 10 racks,
That's
15
a
racks.
fact.
He got the cash. He came to shoot the video.
What are you saying?
They
Throwaways,
shot the
right?
video. But here's the thing too. Here's the thing is when you do stuff like that, even as an artist, you're bringing your brand
Yeah,
down.
that's
Yeah.
a fact.
It's like so obvious.
He said
Like
someone you never heard of.
Yeah.
That's
Fetty Wap
funny.
featuring
whoever.
Yeah.
hot boy MC rap
and they're terrible artists. Like they're not even good.
God.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you can almost sniff it out a mile away. when
Yeah,
you
for
see it.
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not
Yeah.
popping. Preach, you can come in the film and like if you I
I
know they want
give us our shit.
yeah, I mean, you can give us a shit if you want to, dogs. Shout out to Preach. He's,
Shout out
you
to
know,
Preach.
Preach.
he hasn't been on
Preach.
camera yet.
Preach.
Say hello to the camera because
Shout out
this-
to Cat
this is
Sound
Cat
Lab,
Sound
though.
Lab.
Sound Lab here in Brooklyn.
yeah,
Yes.
we use their beautiful space. This is not Atlas's living room.
No.
Okay, this is not
Hey,
my
and
basement.
He comes bearing gifts.
Hey,
Yeah.
and he comes bearing good.
Man,
Sweet.
shout out to Preach. So, yeah, I think I'm really always fascinated by the money grab, conversation because I've been there. I did it, guys. You're talking to a living, breathing human being that's done it. Like I've sold beats to shitty rappers. I've email exchanged with rappers who say, "Hey, Illmind, I want to do an EP with you, 5 songs. I'll PayPal you $5,000. Are you down?" And then I say, "Yes, I'm down." And then I receive $2,500 in PayPal immediately, and then I send him beats, and then I get the other $2,500, and then everyone's happy. Was I happy?
No.
Yeah, well, I was happy. I had the money, but then I did that shit for like 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and I realized that I fucking just completely wasted my time. Because out of all of the 100 or 150 independent rappers that I worked with, I liked one of them.
And you didn't post any of them either.
I liked maybe 3,
Yeah.
right? And I don't even talk to them anymore. So, you've just cheated the system in getting an Illmind beat. Illmind cheated the system in just taking your money. And we were supposed to be happy, but your career isn't thriving. I'm not talking to you anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not really co-signing you guys anymore. Your music didn't excite me in the first place, but I did you a disservice by giving you my beats and making you think that I fuck with you, but all I did was get paid because you offered to pay me.
Yeah.
And I said yes. So you guys understand why this is a conflict for most people.
And I bet you, like in the future, like now looking back at it, with some of these artists that you sold them to be 2,500, 5,000, whatever it was, and then like you look at their profile and like today you'll look at it and they'll be like, produced by Illmind, Grammy nominated, da 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 da, and then you're just like, oh, God, it's like, you know what I mean? So it almost does like a disservice in the future. You know
Yeah,
what I
'cause
mean?
it's like it's kind of like what you were saying with like the World Star. It's like no one you never heard of. It's like cool, you have like the name that gives you a look, so to speak. But like where are you taking that, and where can you take that?
Right.
You know what it
I
is?
mean?
You know
Because
what it
this song is most likely not good. I'm not saying all the
Right,
songs aren't
because
good.
it's like okay, you have a great Illmind beat, so it's like that gives you a look like Illmind, so Illmind fucks with you,
Right.
like cool.
Right.
But then it's like when they look further into you as an artist, it's like it's just a look.
Yeah, and then they'll get Fetty on it, right? And then they'll go spend, I don't know what it costs now on World Star, 500, 1,000, 500 now. Damn,
maybe like
500?
5,000.
Crazy.
Damn, I remember when it was only like 200-300 to get on World Star, but
Right.
anyway, and then they'll put it on World Star, and they're like, "Yo, my shit's popping. I'm on the homepage on World Star." You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just
Not authentic.
It's not, man. It's not a good.
Yeah.
look,
Not
man.
organic.
Yeah, it's not organic. It's
not
not gluten free. It's not dairy free.
These donuts either.
Yeah, listen, and I understand the idea that if you're a rapper and you need beats, it's way easier to just cut a check and buy beats. And if you're a producer,
Especially if you have the
if you're a
budget.
producer, it's way easier to just sell a beat here, 100 here, 50 here. That's fine. You're making a 1-year salary. That's amazing. And then you do it for the first year. It's great. You do it for year 2. Awesome. Year 3. Great. Year 4. Great. Year 5. Great. Where is your career going?
Exactly.
Is
and
this
that-
your job now? Is
Dude,
your job
you're so right.
to just make beats all day and sell them to a bunch of people you don't care about? If that's your thing, be my guest. Trust me. Like, if that brings you joy, keep doing that. But that's just not for everyone. And it's especially not for me. That's why I'm so anti when it comes to that shit.
It's almost like the easy way out. It's like
It is very much.
It's like, okay, I have let's just say it's someone with, you know, a good amount of money, 100 racks, 200 racks, whatever it is, $1 million or whatever. When you have that kind of money and you haven't did gigs, you haven't put yourself out there, you haven't done any kind of like artist development in your own brand or done anything, you just like, oh, I rap now. I'm going to get this person on the track. I have the money. And you think it's like the cheat code to get in because you got the feature from somebody, and they think that that's going to make them pop. And like, that's the backwards way of doing it. It's like, you got to do the legwork. You got to start gigging locally. You got to get out to these promoters, the radio stations, you know, find other producers and artists to collab with on your own, not buy your way in. And without saying their name, there's a few artists out there that's very obvious they've bought their way in. And that's why they're just like a blip. They came and might have had a little buzz, and then they disappeared.
Right, and listen, there's anomalies sometimes. Like, if you feel like you're great, shoot your shot. Like, if you have 10 racks in your account ready to go in your PayPal account, and you want to get a verse, I'm making numbers up, and you're a producer, and you want to get a verse from
Glam.
No, I mean, no, you can't get a verse from Glam. No.
Versus exclusive.
No, you can't get verses from Glam. No, you talk to me if you want.
You got to talk to Illmind. He's a manager.
No, but if you want to, let's
You
say
got to
you
get
get
a unanimous blap first.
Exactly.
There you go.
Let's say you have beats, you have a bunch of beats, they're mediocre, okay? And you have 10 racks to spend, you want to get a verse from a big rapper, I get it. You go to, I'll just say Uzi, you want to get an Uzi verse, 10 racks, well, that's probably a lot less than what he charges. But obviously getting a verse from Uzi will help you. It will get eyes. You get it, you spend it, cool, you got it. Now, what do you have after? I mean, what other options do you have after that? I mean, you put it up on SoundCloud, you put it on, TuneCore, whatever it is. Maybe some people will find it, maybe they won't. Maybe that gave you a little bit of exposure, which it probably did. But 9 times out of 10, Uzi is not tweeting that. And Uzi's not posting that on Instagram. Uzi's not doing a show in your city and saying, yo, homie, come through to the show, VIP, so you come backstage. Getting to know a guy like Uzi is way more valuable.
You might not even talk to Uzi.
You might not even have spoke to him.
Yeah, he might not even have one word to say to you other than
and listen,
on your verse.
guys, I'm using Uzi just as an example, guys, but I'm not saying he charges 10 racks or this and that, and he won't do that. But just as an example, like when you buy your way into certain situations, just you're blocking yourself from really, really connecting. So
that's really, I think you can tell when a person like is not invested. If they collab with someone and then like you don't see them tweeting about it or like them enthused about it, like you can kind of tell like this might have been arranged or like I've seen like up and comers who are like kind of have a buzz for themselves get like I won't say who it was, but I saw this guy he had a song and he got Rick Ross on a verse, but like the verse was so throwaway and like you could tell it was throwaway and like it didn't do anything for anyone. Like you didn't hear Rick Ross talking about it. Like it was just like, oh, I have that. Yeah. But like you can tell it wasn't because they like mad and they were at the studio. Yeah. Rick Ross was like, I fuck with you. Like,
nope.
It wasn't.
See, like, it just always goes back to what we always say, right? If you're a producer, you got those beats. It always goes back to just the traditional route. Like, if you want to get popping, you got to get to know these guys, man.
And the funny thing is that I know rappers.
Can't buy your way in.
I know rappers, very well-known rappers that have said to me, yo, if you know anyone that needs a verse, I charge XYZ, and I'll cut you in a little. And basically that tells me like, yo, they're just doing the money grab, and they just want the money. And that's it. They
can't blame them.
I'm not mad at it. Listen, if I could get 15.
But this is the producer paying. You know what you can do with 10 racks if you're a producer?
Oh my God! You know how much gear you can get and all kinds of stuff.
There's so much.
You know how much you can travel to like.
10 racks is 2-3 trips to LA. You know how much connecting you can do in LA?
More than that if you're smart with
2,
your
3,
money.
4, 5. Yeah, I mean that's 2-3 for me. But
Yeah, your big Airbnb. Shout out to your Airbnb out
Shout
there
to
in
my
LA.
Airbnb, you know what I mean?
3 floors.
3 floors.
The Blap House.
But they're not supposed to know that we converted into a studio.
Yeah, we can't let
But
them
they
know
don't
about the Blap
They don't
House.
know who I am. I got a different profile picture. I got a good rating on my Airbnb.
It's high up in the mountains, so they'll never
There you
find
go.
it.
It's in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, guys, just be smart with your money, man. Like, don't waste 10, 15, 5, 20, 30 racks on just like a verse. You know, like, you can invest more. Invest in your time, invest in your skills, and like, you got to be patient. Like, this is the long haul. This is a marathon, right? We say that all the time here. This is a marathon. So, speaking of this being a marathon, we have a very, very amazing special guest today. Again, not 50 Cent. 50 is in another building.
Another
but
building.
yeah, we'll get him. We'll get him for maybe the 150th episode. But we have a very special guest. He is, and this is something that I'm excited about because we haven't had a guest like him on the podcast before, and we had a lot of questions regarding this particular subject. But we're about to interview a man named KIER, and he is the not right now.
If you
He is
listen
the-
back to like episode 40,
it was the last one. I think 49 or 48. 48. We were talking about.
we
48.
manifested this.
We manifested this, guys.
48.
So
It was
this is
48.
this is nothing new for all of our. You don't have to call them yet. Yeah. This is nothing new for all of our regular listeners, but we did mention wanting to get the music supervisor for the incredible show on HBO called Insecure, and they just wrapped up season 2, and his name's KIER. He is the music supervisor for the show, and if you guys watch the show Insecure, you
That's
know
awesome.
that the music is on point. The soundtrack is crazy. You know, Issa's music taste is so great, and this guy KIER's music taste is so amazing, and the entire team that's behind that. So we're gonna talk to KIER. We're going to pick his brain on the music supervision side of this shit. You know, what it takes to get your music to a guy like KIER. How do you get your music on a show like Insecure or any HBO show? Is that lucrative? You know, who do you need to know? What's the right approach? These are the types of things we're going to talk about with KIER. I can't wait to talk about all this stuff with him. And I think this is a huge topic for the production community. So we're going to give KIER a call, and we're going to talk about this.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. One. All right, so we're here with the man, the myth,
The man.
the legend.
He's here.
KIER, I don't want to say your last name wrong, so my apologies, KIER, but is it KIER Lehman? Lehman?
Yeah, Lehman.
Lehman,
is how
cool.
my family says it, but it's German, so it should be Lehman.
Okay, cool. KIER, see,
there
I
it
spent some
goes.
time.
You did good, Bill. You did
Anyway,
good.
let's give a warm round of applause for KIER Lehman. Welcome to
Oh, thank you,
BlapChat,
guys.
homie. Yeah, welcome.
It's cool to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day, busy schedule. I know you're at the office right now, but so we're here. I'm with my co-hosts, Atlas the Plug.
Hey, what's going on, KIER?
Perfection.
Hey, Alice.
Glam,
Hello.
how are you?
Hey.
It always sounds so funny when we say it back to back. Like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's like down the line. So KIER, first of all, once again, you know, thanks for joining us, man. You know, this podcast, we talk music production, anything that has to do with the art of music production, and I'm really excited about today. I'm excited to interview you because, you know, music supervision and just the whole idea of producers having beats and music and all this music that exists, and, you know, getting it from point A to B, getting your music into this matrix of TV and film is usually a big challenge for a lot of us and for a lot of up and comers, and there's so much great music out there. So I just kind of want to start with getting our listeners a little bit familiar with what you do and kind of, you know, what your specialties are. So speaking to you briefly, I know you have a background in music production, and you are you do work in music supervision, notably one of our, you know, a mainstay favorite, one of our shows, Insecure,
Big time.
which everyone loves.
Oh, yeah,
and
it's
the
hilarious.
music is so fire.
Yeah.
Fire. So you guys are doing an amazing job. So why don't you tell people a little bit
Thank
about
you.
what you do?
Sure, yeah. So, yeah, I'm a music supervisor for film and TV. Mostly I also do some work on advertising. I guess starting with my background, I studied music in school, and I my focus was writing music for media, so producing music for films and advertising and all kinds of different applications. So that's kind of what I studied in school. And when I graduated, I was kind of interested in being a composer or a music supervisor, and I've always been interested in discovering new music. And my father is a record collector, so I grew up with a lot of different music around the house. And once I realized and appreciated his music collection, I had that to kind of dig through and discover, and helped me expand my musical knowledge and tastes. And I think the main thing he taught me was having an open mind about music. And so I've always just been interested in any different kind of genres, and just always kind of curious about new music. And so that led me to this music supervision thing. And so basically my job is to work with directors and producers of TV shows and films to help them realize their vision musically. So I help them kind of, it depends, and some people need more help than others. So like on Insecure, for example, Issa already had a vision of the music in the show is going to be like this. It's going to be dope, it's going to be fresh, it's going to be Los Angeles heavy, and it's going to be, featuring new and undiscovered artists. So, that was kind of my direction, and then I take that and I just try to expand on what she's already doing. Sometimes directors or producers need a little bit more help in figuring out what the sound of their project is. So, like a film that I worked on, 22 Jump Street was a film I did, and the directors or producers were trying to figure out, what is the sound of college right now? So what are college kids listening to? And at that point, a few years ago, it was, EDM music. So we made that soundtrack EDM heavy. We had Diplo in the movie as playing himself as a DJ.
Tight.
So that's an example of where I can come in and help to shape the whole thing from the beginning and figuring out what the sound is.
That's so cool because it's part of it is very creative. I mean, you're not just shifting through a bunch of tracks and emailing and saying, hey, pick whatever you want out of these 40 tracks. You're really getting in there, having conversations with these people, and really sort of even guiding the ship a little bit on the sonic texture of that particular show. That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Who writes the raps for Issa on the show? Does she write them?
That's a good question.
Issa writes the raps.
Wow.
That's fire. Hey, man.
She's
I know.
so dope.
She's fire,
Oh,
man.
she's the best.
She just embodies.
I think there was a couple.
Yeah.
There's a couple where she had co-writes, Broken Pussy. She co-wrote with Larry
I
Wilmore.
love that.
Crazy.
Broken pussy.
She just embodies everything that's just super amazing with the universe. She's just so amazing.
What I really
She
like
does.
though is that you guys didn't only keep it too mainstream, with the music. It kind of, like you said, it gave, up and comers an opportunity, and I think the show kind of took off and became huge to the point where it kind of is, mainstream in a sense with that. So it allows those up and comers to get a big platform. You know what I mean?
And I think that's what makes the show so cool too. I think getting up and comers and getting that fresh new sound is what gives a fresh new sort of brand to that particular show.
Right.
It's just
I was so excited to hear
'cause it's-
Amir Obi on there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's easier to pick the obvious songs or the bigger artists, and people know the songs, and they, sometimes that is what is called for. But we definitely wanted to make our show sound like no other show. We wanted to have our own sound. So when you watch the show or when you hear the music of the show, you're like, oh yeah, that's Insecure.
I have a very interesting question. I think, in your opinion, just from your experience, and it doesn't have to be for Insecure in particular, just sort of open-ended, any show or project you worked on, how often do you run into sort of the challenge of maybe the politics getting in the way of certain things, you know, where it's like, okay, we have this like nationally syndicated show and we have, you know, X amount of dollars in our budget. Maybe, you know, some of that money is allocated to some of the bigger records, quote unquote, and, you know, some of that money is maybe allocated to new and up and coming artists. And obviously, you know, if you're an up and coming rapper or singer and you have like, you know, 100 SoundCloud followers and all of a sudden you're on a show like Insecure and you're getting that promo, how complicated does that get? Is that something where like politics sort of come in and it's like, okay, well, we sort of have to like tread lightly when it comes to up and coming, or is it easier? Like, how does that work into everything?
I think like that, yes, it does become an issue on a certain projects. Like if it's a big, broad project that they want to appeal to, like, you know, the biggest audience, then they're like, they want music that either everybody knows or everybody would appeal to the most people. So then it's harder to kind of sell them on an undiscovered artist or an independent artist, and you know, when they maybe haven't heard that name before, but it's still good music and it still works great in the scene or for this project. And there's only kind of so much you can do to kind of tell them like, oh, but he's, you know, if we put him in, he's going to be huge. We could be part of, like, you know, starting this artist's career, or, you know, in a couple of months, this song is going to be huge. It's going to be on the radio. It's going to be everywhere. You just don't know their name yet, but like eventually, it's, you know, it just needs, you know, it just needs that right connection or that right context to like make this thing blow up. And sometimes it's just like, yeah, we don't care. Like, we want something that we know already.
Right. And it's so interesting.
What's really cool too, with, you know, I'm just talking about Insecure right now, and I know you do a lot of work. When you have the musicians and the like upcoming artists, like I saw Luke James, I saw Sid, and you know, and they're playing like love interest and DJs, and then you have like people wearing the Rap a Lot hoodies, you know what I mean? And it's just like, so it's really cool to see. It's like, not only are you picking the music for this thing, but you guys are like bringing in the characters, and just, it's kind of bringing everything together visually and then sonically at the same time. Is there going to be a season 3?
Yes, there's definitely going to be a season 3.
Hey.
Very, very cool.
Sounds so
Yep.
fun.
How much in advance do you guys like choose what songs go like on an episode or things like that?
It's not that far in advance, especially this year. We had a very tight schedule, so we were kind of finishing episodes only like a few weeks before they would air on TV. So, but we are obviously like working on an episode over a few weeks also. So like it starts as the editors start cutting it together when they finish shooting, and they start putting in music that is sometimes just temporary to like as they're working to make a rough draft, and then we refine it and we replace things, and you know, so we kind of work on an episode maybe over like 3 or 4 weeks before we finish, and then they'll air like 2 or 3 weeks later.
Right.
Which leads to the next question, which I'm sure you get a ton of, and I'm sure the listeners, you know, mostly music producers that we have on the show want to know, is where do you go find this music? Like, where can they send music to? Is there like sound libraries, you know, SoundCloud?
Is it word of mouth?
Word of mouth, through friends? Like, how do you usually find the stuff?
Yeah, it's a lot of those things. I get pitched music all day long from every record label and publisher, you know, managers, artists, and then I also, you know, just read music blogs, magazines, websites, Twitter, Instagram. You know, I follow artists and magazines and just kind of see like what people are talking about. And, you know, if there's an artist that's collaborating with somebody or they're talking about somebody, you know, I'll check that out and see, you know, oh, if I like this person and they're working with this person, then, you know, maybe I'm going to like that. So, you know, just kind of a lot of different places. And then, of course, I have friends and I have relationships with, you know, people in the music industry, if they're managers or agents who represent independent artists. who I trust, and people that I've over the years like built relationships with, where I know that I can trust like what they're going to be sending me is going to be something I'm good, probably going to be good, or something I'm interested in, because they already know me, they know how I work, and so it kind of there's a shorthand there, because I get so much music, and there's obviously so much music out there that there's only so much time to listen to it.
Yeah.
That I kind of have to pick and choose like where I go.
I love that, because that just confirms a big topic that we talk about on this podcast a lot is relationship.
Relationships.
Like relationship is everything. And you know, prior to speaking to you, KIER, we were you know, we talked a little bit about like syncing and licensing music. You know, I've synced a few things here and there, not too crazy, but mostly every sync opportunity is really born from some type of relationship with someone like you here, or like a music supervisor that's sort of partially or fully in control of, you know, the music of that particular show. And it gets really complex, because I think a lot of the especially the up and coming music community sort of have this, you know, their own sort of different idea of how to break into the TV and film thing. And it seems so, it's like just such an under the radar still thing, where it's like not fully understood on how exactly can I get my beats on, you know, Love and Hip Hop, or like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And so like from your experience, just like as a music supervisor, what would be some, you know, bullet points of advice for you know, an upcoming producer with a lot of great beats, not too many connections, not too many followers on social media, but someone who's got some really good music that they want to pitch? What are some, you know, helpful hints you can have there?
Yeah, so the relationship thing is important for sure. I think, you know, there's music libraries who kind of aggregate, you know, a lot of music and have, you know, every genre and instrumental tracks and vocal tracks, and, you know, they just kind of, usually it's like a buyout situation. Well, they'll buy out an artist and then, you know, include their music in the library and make it really easy. And so, you know, they know the supervisors know a lot of the libraries, and so they make it really easy for us to use the music, and usually it's really affordable, and that's an easy process. And that's one way.
So libraries, so getting your music to into the actual libraries.
Yeah, like production music libraries.
Got it.
And that can be something that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, can you name one or two that people can find that they can send to?
Yeah, well, like Extreme Music, APM. Where else do I go? Who else do I use? I mean, those are kind of two of the bigger ones.
Extreme Music, APM, and APM.
Yeah, those are big ones, but there's a lot of them out there. And, you know, they're like, you know, it could be an advantage to obviously be placed with a bigger one, because those are kind of the go-to places. But they also have really big catalogs, so you could get lost within their
that's
big
what I was like.
Right.
That's why.
What's interesting to me is like your background with like music, you know, creatively, like, you know, doing production and things like that. I'm sure aside from like the relationships you have and, you know, the music that's pitched to you, you kind of, you know, with your own ear kind of can hear what kind of flows with the show and certain episodes based off of even your background in music production. Do you feel that can be the case?
I think it helps a lot, and it's not something that's necessary. Like, there's a lot of music supervisors that don't play instruments and don't read music and don't understand how it gets made. But for me, I think it's an advantage, because I understand the process, I understand how it gets made, and I can communicate well with composers and songwriters and producers about the music that I want for my projects, and explain, you know, if I want something created original for something, you know, I can really get into details of like what the sound is and how, you know, we want to create this.
Right.
So, you know, I think, and obviously in being able to understand how things are recorded and how they sound, and making sure that, you know, if it's an independent artist or somebody, you know, who doesn't have, you know, hasn't released officially, you know, or have their stuff professionally mastered and recorded and mixed, that I can kind of help, decipher that and explain what needs to be done if it needs to be fixed or something.
KIER, have you ever pitched your own music on the low?
I was funny. I was just thinking the same question.
Like, hey,
like under a different name with like different publishing.
like, let me throw that in the batch.
I don't do that on my own projects, but I have friends and stuff. So like, if in the past it's been like a friend has come to me and like, hey, I need something for this project I'm working on. Do you know anybody who could make something like this for me? And I'd be like, oh, I could probably make that.
I gotcha. That's me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
cool. Great. So KIER, I
but
want to ask you.
These days I'm too busy to do that, so I don't really
listen. I can't even imagine how much music you're probably listening to every day, which is good and bad. I mean, if you're a big music fan, I mean, how fun is it to just like listen to like fresh new music that like no one's ever heard, and it's like you find those diamonds in the roughs sometimes,
and then see it on the show when it plays. It's just like
great.
Wow.
Yeah. Has there ever
It
been...
is, and that is rewarding. Like seeing it at the end is really rewarding.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, like, that's not like the majority of my day is not spent doing that.
See, that's the misconception.
Yeah.
So, like, those memes where you see the memes where it's like the big time DJ, what they think I'm doing.
Yeah, what my parents
what
think
my
I'm
parents
doing.
think I'm
Yeah,
doing.
what my friends think I'm
what
doing.
I'm really doing.
I have a question.
Exactly.
Was there ever a song that you guys wanted to place on an episode or have placed on an episode that you kind of got pushback from other people? Like, nah, that shouldn't be on there. Or we should, consider another song.
Yes, there's definitely those times when it's something that like maybe I really like it and the director really likes it. But then there's some other producer or somebody at the studio or network that doesn't see the same thing. And, so we'll have to either redo it or find something else that kind of, makes everybody happy.
Right.
And that definitely happens often. And it's, it's something like on Insecure, like pretty much, whatever Issa wants, that's what ends up in the show.
Yeah.
And of course, like Melina and Prentice, who's the showrunner, Melina's the producer-director, they also have opinions and weigh in and want certain music in the show, and there'll be conversations about why somebody doesn't like something, or, Melina will just want to make sure that we're doing the best, and that we all love it. That's kind of like the criteria is like we all have to love the music in the show every time.
And that's great. I mean, that's what you want to happen. I mean, it's very similar to like being an artist on a major label and like getting clearance for like album songs, right? You want your A&R to be on board. You want your manager to be excited. You want the president of the label to be excited, quote unquote, for the most part. You know what I mean? And so it makes sense.
And that goes to show like how HBO is really, they're really supportive of their creative people. Like they let them do their version of what they want to present, and they don't really get in the way very much, you know, which is awesome.
Right. How often are you, and again, this is just open-ended, not necessarily for Insecure, but how often are you guys sort of like sending PSAs out on like, hey, we need this particular kind of song, as opposed to just listening to a bunch of submissions and kind of feeling it out that way? Because I know a lot of the TV film stuff is, hey, we need a 120 track BPM, like dance track similar to like Black Eyed Peas.
Right.
We have 30 days. So how often is that a part of what you do?
That's pretty often. I think, I work on a lot of projects. So some projects, it's stuff that I can just go through my library, my playlist, and like that's easier. And some things where it's like they may be looking for a piece of music that like I don't usually have in my library, or something I'm not as familiar with, that genre, or I need like something within a certain budget. Also, like I need to know before I send this to my producers, I need to know I can clear this music at a certain budget level, so that if they like it, I can afford it, and I'm not going back to them saying, "Oh, I know you like that song, but I pitched it to you, but we actually can't afford it." So that's something where that comes in handy, where I can reach out to a bunch of labels or agents and say like, hey, I'm looking for this and I have this budget. What do you have that will work?
Right.
And that I just want to circle back to the conversation before about how to get your music to music supervisors.
Yep.
Because I think this is an important part of the conversation.
Oh yes.
And the music library thing is like one way, but there are also agents who represent independent artists and pitch their music to music supervisors. So they'll work with an independent label and pitch all their artists, or they'll selectively choose different artists that they feel like have a potential to work for film and TV. So I have relationships with a lot of those people as well, and I may not want to do a music library piece, but I may not have a lot of money. I want to help an independent artist, and so I'll reach out to those kind of people and ask them like, hey, I've got a couple $1,000 and I need a hip hop track and I need to be fun and upbeat and no curse words, and if it talks about partying, that would be great.
And so you go to the agents for that stuff. Great.
Yeah, so the agents, I'll reach out to a few of them and see what I can get back from that. And then there's also people that, of course, like reach out just directly on Twitter or on Instagram and just hit me up and say, hey, I've got a bunch of music. I think it'd be great for Insecure. How can I send it to you?
Sounds like somebody I know sitting next to us over here.
Kind of like how we tweeted you about BlapChat.
Did we tweet him?
Yeah, there was a couple of your fans tweeted.
One of our listeners. Yeah.
I do have to tell this story. So I do have a project. My name's Glam. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
My project just came out not too long ago, and I kept getting these tweets, from supporters on Twitter, like, hey, like, this song needs to be on Insecure, like, what's up? And they would be adding, like, Issa, they'd be adding HBO. So I screenshotted just, like, maybe 2 weeks ago a tweet of a supporter tweeting me, like, saying this, and everyone started tagging Issa in it. And basically, I would like to send you some of my music. I would love for you to listen to it, just because not only do I feel like, of course, it would be a fit, but now it's, like, a kind of a movement confirmation. It's a confirmation online, and it was a really organic
But it's funny
reach.
because when I saw that tweet, I was like, you know what? That's a fact.
Yeah.
Like, I feel the vibes. I was like, that's true.
I'm from Cali.
I'm
from Cali. I make all my beats. I rap. I sing. I do everything.
Yeah, Glam is great.
Yeah,
like
no,
it's so wild because Glam is she's our co-host on the podcast, but like she's just like a super dope artist. Like she's one of my favorites. But we'll definitely send you some shit.
We had a whole conversation about that on one of our podcasts, and one of our listeners was like,
I caught that.
But Kier, I think that's so cool. I think it's so great that you like interact on Twitter, and like you saw the tweet, and then we DM'd each other, and now you're on the show. I think that's awesome, man. Like,
I think there's a lot of talented people out there that don't have the same connections or don't know how to get to people like me, which I totally understand. And I love discovering those artists that are out there that are talented and just need a platform and need to get their stuff heard in some context. So I try to listen, and I would say one thing about that hitting me up on Twitter is like, obviously, I get hit up a lot. I have so much music coming. I don't have a lot of time to spend tweeting people or going back and forth about how to send me the music and if you can or can't or whatever. Like, my advice would be just put the link in the tweet. Just be like, here's my music. Check it out. Make it super easy.
Oh, man, everybody's going to start spamming your mentions now that you said that.
That's why I'm getting mine in right now.
You're about to get bombarded, bro.
Yeah. No, what I think is very, very interesting is the fact that there's like such a big process when it comes to selecting the music for these, types of projects, because I'm sure there are people out there that just think you're like, oh, this is a cool song, put it in the background, versus like what you guys really have to deal with. That's like a whole other thing aside from even filming the show and figuring out all of that.
Yeah.
So for sure. I mean, there's obviously a lot of people that help or that are involved in making the decision. There's Issa, there's Melina, there's Prentice, there's editors, there's me, there's executives at HBO. They all check it out, and if there's something they don't like, they're going to say something. And then, of course, I have to license it. I have to get the rights. I have to make sure I can afford it. I have to track down all the writers. So that's another thing I just want to say is, like, if you're submitting music to somebody like me, make sure that it's all, like, figured out as far as legally. Like, make sure your splits are all figured out. Make sure there's no samples, or if there is a sample, be upfront about it and get it cleared, or take it out.
Yeah. See, I was just gonna bring that up next because I've had a couple debates with some people like, yo, you know, I sample, you know, it don't matter. Tell them, listen, if you want to
get stuck,
the best thing you can do as a producer is just try to not sample. Try to stay away from it as much as you can. Even interpolations, right? Like interpolations, you can really, you still need to clear those.
Have there been
any
projects?
I mean, I understand, like, obviously sampling is a huge part of hip-hop, so it's not like something that's going to go away, but it's just part of the business side that I have to deal with, that it needs to be handled.
Exactly.
Is that your favorite, like, genre, hip-hop?
Probably, like, hip-hop and R&B. I'm a big, like, jazz fan and funk and soul, like, you know, 60s, 70s, R&B. I also, you know, love electronic music and, you know, classic rock. I'm a big classic rock fan, so, you know.
So it's like
there's a lot of
it's a wide range. Has there been any?
It is.
Has there been any project that you, like, have watched or, you know, that you're like, wow, I wish I would have been a part of, like, that music selection?
Recently, Master of None is probably my favorite thing on TV that I didn't work on.
Let me ask you something. If KIER Lehman was the music supervisor for Game of Thrones, what would the music sound like on that?
The funny thing is that there's like a Game of Thrones Spotify playlist, which is made up of all of this music that's not in the show.
Oh, that's cool.
It's just like things that I guess are kind of inspired by the show, and so it's like all over the place, from like Kanye's Power to like Led Zeppelin, Jay-Z, like, you know, just kind of massively powerful songs.
That's funny.
Uman is so excited. He's about to like run and like listen to that shit.
I'm so excited. I'm a throner.
Game of Thrones guy.
I'm officially a throner.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
Throner.
Throner?
I don't know what a throner is. I just made that up.
That doesn't sound right.
It doesn't sound right.
No.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying it's so cool, you know, having KIER on the episode, because, you know, him being a music producer originally in his career, I think is going to inspire a lot of our listeners who are music producers, who are like running around trying to get placements. They're like freaking out. They have no money, you know, they live in their mom's, you know, basement or studio apartment or whatever it is. But there's like other ways, you know, things that you can do, kind of like KIER did, is moving into the music director thing. And I know you briefly spoke about it earlier, but like how'd you make that transition? Like, where'd you go? You know, did you meet the right person and they got you like an internship? Like, how'd all that happen?
Yeah. So I graduated from school. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I went away for school, and I came back when I graduated, because I always knew from when I was really young that I wanted to work in music somehow, and was really interested in music business, and thought I would work at a record label maybe, or be a composer. And I was trying to figure out, you know, what to do, and I did try a few internships. I had interned at a record label, and I interned. I worked at a record store when I was in high school and college, and when I graduated and I came back home, I kind of mentioned to somebody that I was interested in music supervision, and they knew a music supervisor and connected me with that person. And so I talked to that music supervisor, and they said, "Oh, you know, come to the office, come meet us, and we could talk." And I went and met her partner, and he, I, you know, played him some of my music that I produced, talked to him just about my background, and he was like, "Oh, cool, like we could use some help around here. Why don't you come and intern for us?" And so that was how I started. I started as an intern, coming in 3 days a week, and was just like filing CDs and importing. Like at that time, we were starting a digital library because my mentor at the time, he was like, had a good foresight to see where things were going, and that CDs were, we had this amazing way. Like if we had it all digital, all this music is accessible right away, a lot easier than having to burn a CD at the time, which is what we were doing. So that was my job, was like filing CDs and burning them and importing them into the library and creating the digital library, and that's what I would spend my whole day doing. But I loved it because I had access to pretty much any music that I wanted on, recorded music. I could call people and ask them to send it, and they already had a huge library of CDs, and I could get tickets to shows and all this stuff that was like, the perks were amazing. So I just loved working there, and he ended up hiring me full-time eventually, and then I spent about 5 years working at that company, just kind of paying my dues and learning as I went. And by the time I was ready to leave, I was handling shows on my own, with him kind of overseeing it. So that was like the beginning of how I got into it.
Was that like your first? Was that like your break? Would you say like your first kind of big break?
Definitely, like as far as getting into it in the beginning, yeah. And that was just like this connection, but then already kind of being in a place where I knew, like I understood the process. I understood how licensing and how publishing and record labels worked, and so I already knew a lot of music industry stuff. To kind of just jump into it. So I think it was definitely like an amazing opportunity, and then I just took advantage of that.
That's great. I mean, it's a marathon. That just confirms again, marathon. It's a marathon. This takes years.
And what I really like about what you're doing is like it widens your range of like knowledge of music and what's out and what's current. You did CSI. Was that?
Yeah, that was where I started when I worked for that supervisor. We did the CSI shows.
Nice.
So that was the first project that I started learning.
I must admit, I'm like a CSI fanatic. I actually went to school for forensic science.
Oh wow.
Yeah, very very different from what I'm doing. Right. Yeah, like when I graduated high school, I was such into forensic science. And I went to John Jay for that.
Hey, wait, hold on, I got something for you.
And I used to always get the typical, oh, you watch too much CSI when they find out I was studying forensics. Exactly, there's no such thing. Like there's never enough CSI. But
I'm sorry, I had to jump over time.
But how was that like? Finding music for that particular show, because that's like a whole different kind of
totally different texture,
feel and texture.
Different sound, yeah, for sure. That was we were more broad for sure because that was like the biggest show out at the time, and we would feature like bigger songs maybe at the opening of the show, and there was usually like a rock song or like an electronic kind of song or maybe something a little more poppy, and then. But we had these, my favorite part was that they would have the montages where they were analyzing the evidence in the lab. And so it would just be like somebody looking at someone's toenail or some blood splatter or something. And it would just be like a minute with silence. So we would play music over it, and we would really lean into like European electronic beats. And it was like mostly a lot of instrumental stuff. So it was like, experimental beats and, electronic stuff that we would play. And so we kind of got to be known as this place where, like, there weren't many places using this music, especially on a big TV show. So we were digging for just, like, really interesting independent producers that made cool tracks.
So all those, all the basement.
A hardcore EDM song while they're examining a toenail.
So that community, because let's face it, I mean, the chances are that a lot of these guys making those beats back then, they were in their basement, man. Messy hair.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh man. Like, people hate, I don't do rap music. Like, people hate my music, and they got their big break, man.
No, man, but that definitely makes me want to look back and, like, now
listen to it.
I'm gonna
Appreciate it.
analyze
Yeah.
all of the music on CSI moving forward.
It's gonna be so fun. You're gonna be laughing when you
Yeah.
hear that
Literally.
long violin in the background and like
Yeah.
a.
Oh God! One more time. Sorry, I just have to do that one more time. We have these sound effects and shit. But Kier, you know what sucks? I know you mentioned you wanted to join us for Blap or Crap, but we're trying to figure out how to do that, but we can't do it over the phone, which sucks.
Oh yeah, I know. I figured that might be a
Yeah,
problem.
I was like, man, maybe if I patch Kier through my iTunes and somehow do it, I can't do it. But maybe one day. Maybe
All
one day,
good.
man.
If he's
Next
ever in New
time I'm
York,
in New
Yeah,
York.
if you're in New York and you don't have shit to do and you got just wanna have a little fun, listen to some music, we'll definitely set that up. That'll be fun. But
That's
Kier,
all
man,
good.
this is such an awesome convo, man. I think a lot of our listeners will definitely appreciate a lot of the jewels you dropped. The music supervising thing and just the licensing aspect is such a huge topic in our community. There's the hundreds of thousands, maybe even a million,
Yeah.
producers globally that just have all these beats, so much music,
Yeah.
and it's just waiting to be placed or pitched. And we just want to try to pay it forward with the info and help them figure out how to go about doing it.
Yeah, too. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because like that's a whole different side of the music that I think people don't pay attention to. Like sometimes people are so prone to want to work with major label artists and big
Right.
artists where like
Yeah.
you never know if you have something in your library right now that would work for that kind of show.
True.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like anything.
Yeah,
like
for
that.
sure. And people can make a living just
Right.
doing things for film and TV.
Yes.
Like
Facts.
you can make a good living doing it if you get in with the right connections and you are, obviously professional and do a great job. But once you have that kind of relationship with a supervisor, they may come back to you year on year again, or every other project or whatever. If you deliver and show that you can, give them what they need, and you are easy to work with and kind of understand the process, then there's a good, you can make some good money doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know some people that are
Yep.
6 figures a year, jingles and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Really amazing.
Yeah, so it's definitely something good to, another way to just keep in mind of like how to support yourself and still get to do music.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is great.
Love it.
This is a great
You know, so
interview.
you
I love it. Love it. Well,
Yeah.
Kier, man, we are so looking forward to all of the projects you're working on.
Absolutely.
What other projects that you can legally talk about you're working on now aside from Insecure? Any other things we should look out for?
What's the other go? I'm starting on the Black Lightning, which is a superhero show for CW.
Awesome.
Which is going to be fun. There's going to be some great music in that as well. I do a show called The Mick on Fox and another show called Last Man on Earth on Fox, which are really fun.
Nice.
And then I've got a movie that I'm working on. I just finished the Lego Ninjago, so that comes out this weekend.
Nice.
Another movie called The Spy Who Dumped Me with Mila Kunis and Kate McKinnon.
I like Mila.
And so there's some other ones that I can't share yet, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of fun stuff going on. So
Star Wars.
I'm lucky.
Are
Lucky
you
to
the
be
one? Star Wars.
Do you have a Star Wars like sound in there?
I know. I'm trying to look for one. I'm a Star Warer, right, Glam? Is
Yeah.
that right?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
a star.
I have
And
one last.
Game of Thrones.
I have one
I'm a
last
throner.
question.
I
Who,
forgot left.
who
Yeah.
are you listening to right now? Who's like
Yeah.
on your playlist?
Oh, that's the hardest question.
Like
Just
just
like everyone.
yeah, like
Top
just
two, top
just
two.
when
Get
you're
away.
like in the Uber,
Yeah.
headed to the office or whatever, like
I'll just say like, because there's obviously tons of music all
Yeah.
the time, and it's like random things for projects that I'm working on. So it's not always like, that's another thing. It's like not always like what I would listen to for pleasure, but it's
Right.
things that I need to find for a project or something like that. But there's something, and I think that your audience would probably appreciate this one. I just heard this artist a couple of days ago. I think I'm going to pronounce it right, but I think it's Iznik, and it's Izniik.
Interesting.
Just like really crazy, dope beats that's kind of samples and just a mix of like all different kinds of stuff. it's kind of like, I think I read a review that mentioned like kind of sounds similar to avalanches, but more like electronic than that.
Cool.
So that was one thing that like kind of got me excited recently.
Is neat.
Yes, and then what else am I?
Yeah, like who's your
to?
favorite artist that you're listening to? Like, what albums are you personally like listening to
iTunes.
on your leisure? Yeah.
I think
the
the last one that I listened to like all the way through is Action Bronson's album.
Okay.
The
7,000.
newest one. He's like, I think he's one of my favorite rappers. I just love listening to him. It's so much fun, and the beats are like those. You know, it's funny because I say like don't sample in the shit that you send me. But at the same time, like I love I love those beats that have those warm samples in them and those jazz samples and like that I really love listening to that personally. So what else has been Daniel Caesar.
Love him. Love him.
Really love his record.
So good.
And I don't know, like there's just so much good stuff that it's like I have a hard time. Anderson .Paak,
Of course.
somebody who I
Of
can't
course.
get enough of. There's this girl H.E.R.
Yeah, her.
Sorry,
Yeah, she's fire.
Hers great.
album is just amazing.
Right.
I'm just like scrolling through my Spotify right now, and seeing what
Yo,
comes
type
up.
me in.
Yeah, listen to Glam.
Oh no, I'm not playing.
Exactly.
No, you should. I
Yeah,
think.
no, you gotta send me the music. So
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
listen to the music.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, Kier.
And
Well,
that's another thing for me. Like just one last thing as far as like sending me music or pitching me music. Like I need the files
Right.
to like work with the music. So like people send me SoundCloud links or Spotify links and to listen to it, which is great. And obviously I can listen to it that way. But if I want it for something, I need the actual file so I can send it to my editors and my producers and share it with them. And then they can take it and cut it into the episode and edit it so it fits into the scenes and all that. So it's just another tip that like if you're going to submit music, submit it in a way where I can listen and download it.
yes. So you guys heard it. Get your MP3s right.
Get it cracking.
No sending fucking.
And tag
strings.
your information on it too, because I
Yeah.
get so much music. Like if your artist name or your phone number or something is not in there,
Yeah.
I may lose it and not know where it came from.
It can't be.
Yeah.
Don't send track 01 underscore
Yeah.
version 6 final
Or like
final
track
master
September 3rd.
dot MP3.
Dot
Don't do that.
AIF.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do the dot AIF. Oh God, no. Kier, man, we appreciate your time.
Hell yeah.
Man, really awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Looking forward to all the projects you're working on, especially
Definitely.
Insecure and all the other shit. Sounds
Yeah.
so cool. And
Thank
keep,
you, guys.
keep doing your thing, man. The music is amazing, and man, just such an awesome, inspiring
Yeah,
convo.
it definitely is gonna make me kind of look at TV
A little
and
different.
film a little
Start paying
different.
attention,
Paying
yeah.
attention more to the music and the selection and wondering why that song and not this song.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna go now.
Yeah.
Pay attention
Yeah,
to see
I
it.
got one more for you. One more time, baby.
There you go. And Kier, if you're in New York and we're gonna do Blap Crap, you can come join us in person, man. We'll
Definitely.
do Blap Crap.
Yeah, that'll be
Awesome.
fun. That'll be fun.
We'll do that. Thank you guys. It's been fun talking with you.
Thank
Awesome,
you.
Yeah.
Kier,
Thanks,
man.
Kier.
Have a good
Great.
day, man.
Yeah,
We'll talk
have a good
soon,
one.
man.
Later.
Thank you guys.
Peace.
All
All
right.
right,
Bye
see
bye.
you. Let's give a round of applause for Kier. Really cool, man. I mean, listen, he pretty much just broke it down for you guys. Like, don't use samples. Get to the music libraries. Okay.
And he gave you two companies.
Two
to look up.
companies. All of you guys should have wrote that down. Get to those companies and agents.
Yep.
Get the agents. There's agents out there.
And tweet, but don't spam,
Tweet, don't spam.
please.
And that's
And
how
make
you
sure
do
you
it.
have the session ready to go. So if he wants it, or just put it in the actual email, so it's there, easy for him to just download it, like you said.
Yeah, it just confirms everything that we just said about relationship.
Yep,
So get to
100%.
know these guys, get to know the agents, get your music ready, and that's a good start.
All day, relationships. We talk about it all the time, and
That's
that's so
it.
true, man.
That's it. Should we jump into this blap or crap?
We should, 100%.
All right, guys, we're about to do blap or crap. Oh, one more time. One more time. All right, so let's jump right in. We'll do a couple minutes of this.
Yep.
We'll do some submissions here. Let's see what we have. All right, so guys, listen up. We're about to do Blap or Crap. This is what we're gonna do in this segment here. Basically, we're gonna listen to your beat submissions randomly, by the way, super randomly. We're gonna go to this website that we created called beatthread.com, beatthread.com. So we're gonna go to beatthread.com and we're gonna listen to your beat. Now, if you're a producer and you want to submit for this segment, what you need to do is go to beatthread.com and sign up, which is totally free. And you're gonna upload your beat on the platform, kind of like SoundCloud. And you're gonna hashtag Blap or Crap when you submit. And we're going to choose your beat at random and listen to your beat. If we like the beat, we're going to give you a blap, and if we don't, we'll give you a crap, and we'll try our best to give you constructive criticism and not destructive. But most of the time, it's destructive, which is pretty fucked up, but a lot of fun. All right, Blap or Crap. Our first submission is by, you guys are gonna love this.
Let's go.
You guys are gonna love this. Ready? Our first submission. Our first submission. It's only right. Our first submission is by Chocolate Thunder.
Oh, hell
Wow.
yeah.
No, are you serious?
Chocolate Thunder. Here we go.
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
let's go.
Here we go. Let's see if you got that thunder, Chocolate.
Pause.
Better lay it down. Pause.
Pause.
Better lay it down. Pause.
Damn, I didn't pause that. Sounding like chocolate so far, bro. Let's see it build.
I'm crapping it right now. This is a crap. You got that?
Wait. It's gonna drop. Ready?
No, I shouldn't now.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No.
I guess not. It mind. I guess
You
not.
were supposed to put a drop in
That
there.
was so-
See, it started as chocolate. It started as chocolate, and
There
there was
was
supposed to be thunder in
No
that
thunder
part.
though.
It was chocolate sprinkles.
No, there's the chocolate.
chocolate
That
mist.
farting sound.
It was chocolate mist. That's what it was.
That's a good one.
All right.
I was gonna say chocolate showers, but no, yeah, chocolate mist.
Chocolate shower.
Wow.
Chocolate showers. Ooh.
Yeah, and
I
that's
would
gonna
take a
be
chocolate shower.
That's gonna be a crap from me.
That's
It's
a crap.
gonna be a crap for
And
me
that's
too.
it.
That's a
And that's
crap.
all I got to say.
Crap. I think it has potential.
Cringe.
Everybody cringe.
I did that for glam.
Cringy.
That's so ugly. Potential.
All right, yeah, man. Listen, we got to crap all around. I just think, like, I did like the way it started. Like, I thought it was gonna go somewhere interesting, and never did. So
Yeah, I feel like the bass came in
never
at a
went
weird.
anywhere.
I feel like the
Yeah.
bass came in at a weird point, and the bass wasn't even that good.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. I think like the tempo was a little too slow for that. It
That
could have been a little
sample.
quicker. It was kind of lagging, and I don't know. It just didn't go anywhere at all.
And then when you were like 4, 3, 2, and the drop came, it literally
was no drop.
dropped. Like
Yeah.
all the sounds came out, and there was
Yeah.
nothing. So.
it was a
Yeah,
literal
play with
drop.
that sample a little more, if anything. And
Word.
if you want to keep that 4/4 part happening, gotta
Yeah.
make that kick a lot more like present.
Yeah.
So
A lot
other than
more,
that,
yeah.
And
but
boost
I-
the sounds too, because
Yeah, you
everything
gotta
did
boost
sound a
everything.
little low.
it sounds unfinished. I think you
Yeah.
have to go back in there. You might have to take out everything you had and start with the sample completely.
Yeah.
In my
True.
opinion.
And there was
True.
really no structure. Like,
True.
you know what I mean? It was just
True.
like a run-on kind of like loop with
Yeah.
all the instruments still like intact throughout the whole thing. So
Yeah.
try to take
Yeah.
some stuff out in, different parts of the track.
Yeah.
Yo, and
Yeah,
you might want to think about changing your name.
No, I like that name. I
like
mean,
Chocolate
Yeah,
Thunder?
It was
I could
more-
agree with
but the
Alex.
beat-
I'm
the
not
beat's
feeling
gotta-
on that. It's just Chocolate Thunder.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever say that ever.
Nah, the beat
for
didn't.
me,
If the
personally.
beat was actual Chocolate Thunder, then it would be appropriate. It was more like strawberry
It was like-
rain,
sherbet,
I told you.
Sherbet.
it was
soft
chocolate
ice
mist.
cream.
sherbet.
I told you it was chocolate mist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
per-
Chocolate
perfect.
mist.
Anyway.
Oh, chocolate mist. There you go. That's
Our
it.
next submission is by Baxter Beats. Here we
All
go.
right. Let's do
Here we
it.
go. Oh my God.
obnoxious.
dope
It needs
enough
to
to
like
Lupe.
push it back. Yeah.
I just pictured a thug ass eagle the whole time.
Oh
Like,
man.
An eagle?
yeah, like I don't know, or like a crow, or like a crow.
Yeah, like the crow in Game of Thrones.
That's
maybe.
a crap. It's a
That's
crap.
a crap.
It's
Crap.
Crap all around.
Yeah,
It
crap
had
all
like
around.
a certain type of cool vibe and groove, but
It stayed
it was
there.
too repetitive. It stood there, and I feel like I agree with Glam. That sample was a little too obnoxious. It needs to lower it down and like add some reverb to it, push it back, like you know,
And never so
in the
often,
track.
if
Yeah, it was
anything.
just way too in your face, especially being that it was repetitive too. You know what I
Right.
mean? It just became a little much.
Damn.
Agreed.
Okay.
Damn.
Damn.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah, the 4-bar.
Brum.
Sorry.
That
Bro.
was like a really death written.
That was a bad,
like,
but,
doomed ass damn.
That's like that's for
No.
the that's the CSI shit.
Yeah. Speaking
Yeah.
of, I thought it said DJ Alien, but it wasn't.
Damn,
I was gonna say,
too
speaking
bad.
of CSI, which has nothing to do with CSI anyway.
But
This
still.
is DJ Allen, 23, and
Okay.
this song is called Dungeon Drummer.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Dungeon drummer. It's not it. I'll tell you right now.
Come on.
It's crap. I can tell
All
already.
right.
Jeez.
Says-
I'm telling you, you know we
Damn,
didn't like.
Simon.
Hold on,
Where's
hold on.
the
Ready?
beat? Where's the beat?
Damn,
Damn,
Let it come in.
Simon.
Let it come in.
It's not it. Told you.
Wait, feel that. Feel that.
Told you.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Come on, girl.
No, no,
What are you talking about?
He said nope,
What
not
you
it.
talking
Not
about?
it.
What
Not
you
it.
talking about?
Not
What you talking
it.
about?
When Ill starts rapping, that's how you know.
If it compels ill to spit, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And sometimes when
What
he
is he
spits, it
talking?
makes the
He said
track sound
motherfuckers
better
gon'
though.
get it. What are you talking about?
Motherfuckers
Motherfuckers gon'
get it.
Jesus Christ.
No sweaty. Motherfuckers
Oh
gon' get it.
no.
I went to the fetty.
I went to the
I'm about to
fetish.
get the cheddar.
Yeah.
I want fetty wop.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers that can't stop.
Go.
Video games.
Kind of like a really thuggish
Main
cowboy.
campaign. Video games.
Thug rodeo.
This sounds like never.
Damn.
That's a crap for me.
Crap all around. I wasn't
dumb.
mad at like the 3 count. You know what I mean? You can get
I
a good
was.
verse.
That sounds like fucking. That sounds like the
Bazinga.
Creep Squad is coming out from the club about
Word.
to beat
Yeah.
somebody
Some
up.
love and hip hop shit real
Creep
quick.
Squad.
This is
Yes.
Love and Hip Hop.
That was some Creep Squad.
that ain't- that's Creep
Like
Squad.
Cisco all mad. Like
yeah. Cisco
Damn.
mad at Rich.
All right.
You
Craps
know
all
what?
around.
we need to like scroll all the way to the bottom or
That's what I did.
man.
Damn.
What's
I'm doing
up
it.
with
I'm,
y'all?
I'm randomizing this. All right. Our next submission is by Bonfield. Bonfield. Here we go. Yeah, I just want to hear Drake's ad lib. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good. Ice cream. Ice cream. Ice cream.
Hip hop arms.
Ice cream.
Hip hop arms coming out.
Ice cream. I like to go eat the ice cream. You like to go eat the ice cream. It's cold. It's summer.
It's cold, but it's a hot summer.
Sounds like it's like halfway done to be. It sounds like it's not done.
Don't like to eat the ice cream. Don't like to eat the ice cream.
Summer.
I eat the little scream.
That snare is so ugly. It's like
You know I like to eat the ice cream.
his snare. If your snare had a
like-
face, it was like this.
That's the mood.
Crap,
crap.
crap.
Yeah.
Craps
Yeah,
all
that
around.
snare was
Um,
terrible, and that clap I was not a fan of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not good.
I'll be honest with you. I wasn't mad at like the intro. Like
I like
the
the
yeah,
piano.
no,
thing.
I like
the
the
intro was
piano.
real
Could've freaked it.
promising.
I felt
freaked
like
it.
it was like not even it was like halfway done the track to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the piano, I was like, okay, this might be something. Then the beat came in
It was boring, right?
and
Yeah.
it was boring as fuck. But I was like, all right. That was like if they add another texture,
Right.
like 2-4 bars in, like add something.
No,
I
I'm
was
gonna change
waiting
that
for
snare.
more shit, and it just didn't
Yeah.
happen.
That snare was too ugly.
Yeah,
I'm
that snare was
sorry.
whack
was
as
ugly.
fuck. I'm not even gonna lie. Oh shit.
Damn, son. You got perfection all riled up.
You got perfection all riled up.
Damn, I like
You got
that side.
It was
perfection
whack
pissed.
as fuck.
I like this side of perfection actually.
Oh man, Think
Right?
Mundo,
Yo,
Mundo
homie, that
rubbing
shit was
up.
whack as fuck. I'm about to.
It's not a nice sounding
sorry.
snare.
This is whack as fuck.
Listen, but keep
Damn,
working though. Keep working.
Damn.
You know, keep making more beats. Keep trying to get better.
No.
man,
I didn't even mean to
Bonfield.
say it like that. You guys made it worse in Preach's face.
Damn.
Bonfield
No,
might
I
be
meant
like
it in a sense
like 6'4".
no, real shit. Let's get serious. I wasn't mad at the beat either, but the snare, it was whack.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, that's exactly
Okay.
what you said the first time, and we all
Okay, let's go.
laughed.
Next submission. Next
I
submission.
got a point to make.
Oh shit.
What was whack about the
Relax.
snare?
I mean it in the sense of like I kind of fucked with the idea, but
It was still whack as fuck.
Wait, okay,
no,
we're just
you
gonna
guys,
move on.
no, you guys are killing me.
The snare
'Cause I
was
don't-
whack
no,
as fuck.
I don't
It
want to
was.
sound like
man.
an asshole.
No, it's
you don't
okay.
want
It was a
to
cool. No,
asshole.
it was a cool vibe. I just blurted that out. It was funny,
No, it
but
was a
It
vibe.
was natural. It was
I
honest.
did. Yeah, no. The reason why is because I kind of really, I fucked with something about the beat. I think the BPM was a little too slow,
Yeah, fast it
and
up.
every time the
fast it
snare
up.
came in, I'm like, like it just killed it. Like it's just a wrong snare for that. And then I think the clap too was a little. I wasn't a fan of that,
Yeah, it
and it is
was
kind of
fat.
empty. Yeah, especially like at that
Too much
BPM
space.
and too much space. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
makes it too open. But
It was whack as fuck.
yeah, I would say change that snare. But yeah, I think he could play
Yo,
with it
Josh,
a bit.
make sure you get this clip.
No, man.
Specifically.
You know
I
what
wanna
killed
see
me?
the
Preacher's
dance.
face was like,
Yeah.
like I just blurted
He
that
sounded
out.
like it was him. Like he submitted the beat. Like
Like,
what's
damn,
wrong with my
homie.
snare?
I just blurted that out. But it was because every time like I heard the snare, I'm like, this is killing the
Yeah.
track. It's really killing the track.
It's loud. It's
Honestly, if
overbearing.
homie replaces the snare and then speeds it up like
Yeah.
5-6
Yeah.
BPM,
For sure.
it
And
would have
adds
a
a
groove
little
to it.
more,
It would.
yeah.
And add another
Yep.
texture too. Yeah,
And
he's
then
on-
add
he's
another
got that.
texture.
Yes.
You
I
know?
agree with that.
Then it would
So-
really be Chocolate Thunder.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, our next submission is by Dark Soul. The picture on the profile here is actually
Dark
Stormtroopers.
Soul.
Stormtroopers from Star Wars. I hope this is good. Yeah. Wait.
Track.
Exactly.
It's not it.
Yo, mama. Yeah. I said, mama said, knock you out. Motherfuckers know I said, ciao.
Harlem shake on 'em. Yeah, go glam. Harlem shake on 'em. Ayy, now let's get it. Now let's get it. Oxygen. Ayy. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Ayy.
Okay. Turn that shit off.
Wait. Change up. Switch it.
Oh, a whole different snare
Okay,
right there.
all right.
This guy, whoever this is like in like somewhere in like 1999.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
little dated. Yeah, it was dated.
Yeah.
2000.
I feel like LL Cool J could have rocked on it. Like,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
back in like doing it well
Yes.
days. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, it
just a little
definitely
throwback.
made us dance, but it was dated.
Yeah.
I didn't think
You was just Harlem shaking crazy.
Zoom in, zoom in. Remember when they used to do that shit? He said, come closer to the
Come
camera.
with me. Come with me.
Come with
Come
me.
with me, camera.
Come with me to my journey.
And you can't go, but come.
You can't come though.
Right.
Pause. Yeah, crap. I mean, just
Crap.
dated. Nothing really more to say.
Yeah.
I wasn't mad at the snares though. The snares
Yeah.
were hitting. The snares
snare was okay.
That snare was
That
crispy
snare,
as
that
shit.
was a good
Yeah.
snare.
Yeah.
That was a good
Yeah.
snare. That was a good
The
snare.
crispy ass snare and
The
shit.
snare was
The
hit.
snare was
Nah,
popping.
that was a good snare.
Yeah.
She's like, she's all
See?
modest the next time. No, that was a good snare.
A good or bad snare
She's
makes
like-
a
Yeah.
difference.
It really does.
A good
I
or
agree.
bad fucking snare
Perfection's
makes a
like this
difference,
now.
man. Because
No.
you can have all your drums intact,
Listen.
but once that snare drops, man.
Listen, Bonfield, you need to grab that snare from Dark Soul.
Dark
Or
Soul.
submit that to some porn.
Dark Soul,
like,
give that snare to Bonfield.
Music supervisor for pornos. I think that'll do well.
There
in
you
that
go.
That's
field.
different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
There's-
Do they even do that?
Yeah,
do they
I
do
think
that?
they do.
music
There's a budget
yeah,
for
music
that.
There's
supervising
definitely a
for
budget for
porn.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah, that gave me like a porno.
That's
vibe.
interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting.
There's a
We're gonna
budget.
look into
I
that.
don't really
There's a
watch a
home
lot
for
of
that.
porn, so
We're gonna look into
Yeah,
that.
There's a
me
home for
neither. It
that.
just gave me that vibe, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Porn
Right.
music is
Sure.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So our last submission for today is by Game 6.
Yo, we have had no fucking blaps this episode.
We haven't.
We might
Listen,
have
guys.
one right here.
Are
It's
we?
dry. It's dry right now. Here we
See,
go.
Game 6.
Game
Let's
6.
go.
Let's go. It's Game 6 right now. Bottom
Game
of the ninth.
6.
Please, somebody come through.
Bottom of the ninth.
Bases
Bases loaded. 4-0. Are you gonna tie it?
3 and 2.
Or are you gonna lose?
2 outs.
We don't even have one yet, though,
Bottom of the ninth.
This one has potential.
until you said that.
Ready, go.
You're a legend of the city.
That's not me.
Creative intro.
Oh, come on.
I feel like I'm in karaoke right now.
Come on with it.
Definitely not it.
Hey,
My name is Lakarisha Shalika.
Licensing.
Yo,
I
I
own
ain't
a
even
nail boutique
Yes.
down in Augusta, Georgia. And my business is blooming. And haters gon' hate, but players always gon' play. And I prefer to do both. Cause I'm a hoe.
There's a homie. This is Love and Hip Hop.
I'm not even gonna lie. I thought his direction was like nothing
So
was
different.
the same views streak.
Yeah, that didn't. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So I got one for you.
Sorry.
Galantis, please consult your physician. Galantis. Side effects include nausea,
Galantis.
abdominal pain. Call your doctor about Galantis now. Free trial today. Please sign up. Call 1-800-456-4522. Galantis.
How's it sound? How's the snare?
The snare is lit in this
The
actually.
snare's actually okay and decent in this one. you
Yo,
know?
I'll be honest with you.
Snare's
With the
popping.
right top line on there, that can be kind of cool.
It's cool, but I still don't like it.
It's not a good beat.
Yeah.
I don't think the
No, I'm being
programming.
serious.
Why did you go from
Yeah, it's-
with the right top line? I
But
don't
it's
like
not
it,
good.
that
But
shit,
no, but
actually.
the beat's not good. But
Well,
if
you're
you
right.
had someone with a good pen in there, then they can formulate an idea and then you can switch the beat up.
Because people
delete
can't
the
do
beat
that.
and
You
then
could write
replay
the
it.
hell out of a song.
You could write, yeah, because
Right,
those chords
yeah.
are very,
Yep, for sure.
you know, very like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give it to Neo or somebody.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean?
smashes are written, so like someone
Smashes
with
are
a
written.
good
They
top
written.
line can go in there and kill it.
They
That
written.
is a fact. But
Yeah,
it's
they
still
written.
a crap.
They written.
Still a
still a
crap.
crap.
That is
This
a
is
fact.
Atlas
but
said
it's
they
still
was
a crap.
written.
This is gonna be our walkout music for today.
No, this
Alright,
cannot
so-
be my exit music. I
Appreciate
refuse.
y'all.
No, it's been real.
Episode
And
50.
Christine in the black
This is the
hat.
song you got.
Bravo.
This is after you
How
lost. This is
did
when you get
we-
sent home.
How did we get no blaps on episode 50?
It just is what it is.
It's because it's BlapChat.
It just
And you
is
know, they
what
still
it is.
learning. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I'm gonna spare y'all, but not
Nah, but
really.
listen,
You need to
guys.
pick
I need
it
a
up.
blap, man.
This is what you
I need
do,
a
guys.
blap.
You know, I understand because B-Thread really is a forum where you post your shit and then like you're unsure about certain things, so you're not really posting your heat. I get it, but guys, start posting some heat. So if you want to be considered for this segment, go to beatthread.com to submit for Blap or Crap. You're gonna join. You're gonna sign up. It's completely free to sign up on the website, and you're gonna upload your tracks and make sure you hashtag Blap or Crap, one word. When you upload your track, you're gonna hashtag Blap or Crap, and we'll get it going like that, and we'll possibly choose you at random for our next episode. So, man, this was episode. We gotta turn that beat off.
We still had it.
We'll see y'all next week. No, that was episode 50. Shout out to KIER Lehman for joining us today. And if you guys haven't seen Insecure yet, go watch Insecure. Really amazing show. And this was great. We're out of here.
We're out of here. Next week's gonna be.
Next week is gonna be
tough.
someone special.
Oh yeah.
Episode 51.
Young boy.
Yep. We got it.
Well, you'll see next week.
You guys will see next week. So we're out of here. We'll see y'all next week. BlapChat.
Peace.
Bye.
Make sure you subscribe to us. Okay? Don't
Balls.
be a dick.
And check out my new beat that I just dropped on SoundCloud today.
Perfection dropped the beat today.
Hey, SoundCloud.com
Check it out.
/Perfection Productions.
Perfection
Her snares-
Productions.
Lit.
Her
And
snares
my
are
snares
crispy.
lit.
Their snares
You guys are
crispy as
fucked
fuck.
up.
Those snares are
You
lit.
guys
Oxygen
are
out
fucked up.
right now.
The snares are on point.
Apple,
Later.
Perfection
Spotify, Tidal.
Productions.
Hit it
Do
up.
it. We
You
out.
guys are fucked up.
Oxygen out now.
I honestly didn't even mean
You
to
were like,
Peace.
that's their